Today's video features a 1975 Hot Wheels Redline Poison Pinto. Now this was given to me by a good friend of mine. I really wasn't sure what I was going to do with it, but it's a free Hot Wheels. Happens to be from the Redline era, so I couldn't deny it. Today we're going to not restore it, but more of a custom. And this is not really a sought after model as far as I know, so it really doesn't matter what we do with it. And this is yet another one of those castings where looks are deceiving. It doesn't appear to be in bad shape, and overall it's not, but you'll see in the end it's not as in great shape as it appears. So we're going to end up having some fun with this. After all, it is for the boss of the house, which happens to be a 5-year-old. So let's begin. We're going to start off by taking our .050 drill bit and drilling through the center of the rivet. Now this is actual speed, and in this video I decided against using a lot of the fast forward that we do in many of the videos. So instead we're showing short clips of the actual speed. Hopefully it gives you a better idea. Once we've got it all drilled out with our 1/8 inch bit, so we started with the .050 for the small hole, and the 1/8 inch to get the rest of the mushroom out. Now we can take the car apart. If you'll notice, we only drilled out one rivet. It's because there's only one rivet on this car. The back of it has a hook in it that actually hooks to the bottom of the base. We're going to go ahead and use our orange stripper, which is a citrus strip. We let it sit for about 5 minutes and we can just wipe it off. Now I am using my bare hands. I would not recommend this, although it is supposedly safe. Use gloves. You can see the roof has a bit of a dent in it. We're going to go ahead and take our small brass hammer on the anvil and just lightly tap it out. So you can see the speed and the amount of force is very small. Now if you notice, the edges of the roof are quite rough. Now it arrived to me in this condition, had nothing to do with the hammering, so we're just taking a file and lightly sanding those edges. Not really for cosmetics, more for protection. Don't want the little guy getting cut on a sharp edge. Next we'll start doing some sanding. Now we are starting out with 1000 grit. I actually tried a wet sand on 1000 and then I went to 3000. Here's one of the few parts that will be sped up. You can see that is what it looks like after about 20 minutes of sanding. This body just was not getting smooth. And then we go ahead and polish it. There's a really bad area on the front fender there. Take some 1000 grit, and then I give up pretty quickly and just set it on the table and start going to town. Never did get it completely out. And we're polishing yet once again. Next we'll get ready for some paint. For some time I've been wanting to use this Spectraflame antifreeze green paint. And I thought this would be the perfect opportunity since the car was originally green, but you'll see shortly that was short-lived. While the paint is drying, we're going to go ahead and do a wheel swap. Now we're using an X-Acto to get in between the base and the axle. I don't want to destroy these wheels, and I don't want to break off the tabs of the plastic base. It's a perfect tool to do it. We'll go ahead and pop in our new wheels, and we'll use our Allen wrench just to punch those down without breaking those tabs off. I don't recall what casting these are from, but they are a rubber tire with a red wheel, and red is one of my grandson's favorite colors. Actually, it is his favorite color. We're going to go ahead and paint the interior with the Testors flat black, as well as dress up the motor. Just some black accents, and we also used our chrome pen to touch up any of the chrome imperfections from the original. Here is a look at the finished paint job. You can see it looks horrible. Look at all this crinkling. And this is just with the Spectraflame paint. Now if you recall, I've actually had problems a few times. When we painted the Camaro, the color was totally off. I had one other problem with some cracking. And this again, this is no clear, no primer, nothing. Straight on metal, and this is what happens after it dries. Goes on smooth, it's fine. I think I've finally figured out the problem. Now I'm not 100% sure that is the issue, but it's kind of odd. The only thing that I've changed with painting is hardener because I ran out of the old and we're getting these results. If you remember, the Camaro didn't crack, but it was totally the wrong color. So we're going to try some of this. And this mishap is really a blessing in disguise. As mentioned earlier, this is for my grandson. He really likes green. Red is his favorite color, but he's really been on this gold kick. So we're going to paint it Spectraflame gold using the newer hardener, or the hardener that I haven't used yet, and see if that gives us the desired result. We'll cross our fingers. Hopefully we'll get it done. And he can have his golding, as he calls it, for golden, calls it golding, his gold Hot Wheel. Now before we go ahead and paint this the gold color, I wanted to show you what it looks like after a strip and polish. Now keep in mind, this was sanded with 1000 grit, wet sanded with 3000, and there are still a lot of divots in this body. They are all over the place. It's also been polished and obviously stripped of its old paint, and I give it another polish after I stripped it. So in the end, when you actually see the paint, there's definitely going to be some imperfections. I get that question quite often, and with these Spectraflame paints that we're going to be using, you can't really use a primer. Now you could use a chrome primer or a high polished silver, which we've done in the past, but it always seems to be missing that transparency. It's always better to paint on direct metal to get the full Spectraflame effect. But unfortunately, we're just going to see those divots and scratches in the paint. Now in an attempt to hide some of those divots and scratches, we applied about 6 coats of the Spectraflame. It turned out fairly nice. There's no polishing, no clear coat, that is just the paint. We're going to go ahead and use our paint pens, paint some turn signals, as well as the lower valence, and then the headlights. Now I did not paint the front bumper chrome, just something I didn't do. We can always go back and do that later. But this is immediately going to get played with, so that chrome would be stripped off in no time. Also go ahead and paint the rear taillights. Now I'm not entirely sure if this is the correct location for a Pinto wagon's taillights, but it looked okay, so we went with it. We also used our chrome pen and painted the tools in the back. We'll go ahead and reinstall our glass onto the interior. That's the way this goes together. You have to insert the front grille in the body first, and then slide the rest of the interior up into the body. It can be a little bit tricky, but you should be able to get it fairly quickly. And last, but certainly not least, we'll reinstall the base. See, there's the hook, and there's one thing I forgot. Forgot to tap for the front screw. So we're going to go ahead and use some of our Loctite glue and just glue it in place. And as you can see, it does roll just fine. So he'll be able to take this down his racetrack and beat the tarnation out of it. Now let's go in for a closer look. You can actually see me waving in the reflection. So the paint actually turned out excellent. Now as far as the imperfections, not so much. You can see the imperfections underneath the paint, but they are much harder to see than I actually thought they would be. I think this is because I use 6 coats. I usually use about 3. I didn't want to lose the total Spectraflame effect, so I didn't go any more on that. Now this does cure one problem. We definitely know that hardener that I have is bad. So we're going to throw that away. I may email the Redline shop to see if I can get a replacement. I'm not sure if I can, because it's been several months since I ordered that. It's only about $6, but if I can get a replacement, I'm certainly going to do so. And the wonderful thing about this is I try to learn something from everything I do, from every video, from every bad experience. And we definitely learned something here. We had some bum hardener, and we won't be using that again and wasting more paint. Now I realize this is not a Redline restoration like some may have hoped. It's more of a Redline custom. But more importantly, it's the fun of the hobby. This is for a 5-year-old boy, and his favorite color happens to be red, and right now his second favorite color is gold. He already has the car. Give it to him today after he got back from his dad's house. It is Monday, and he couldn't have been more excited. It was 100% worth it. He ran and told his mom, showed his grandma, look, Pawpaw made me a gold car. So in the end, that's all that matters. And here's what we started out with. Nothing wrong with it. It can certainly be played with. But now we have our own unique car that we can call ours. If you see any of the tools that I use in this video that you'd like to purchase for yourself, be sure to check out the links. They're located below the video in the description. I have Amazon links to just about everything I use, from the drill bits, to the paint, to the rotating display stand that you see here. Those all can be found in that video description. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to post those below. If you'd like to contact me, the easiest way to contact me is email, wheelsandthings@gmail.com. I also have Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, but I don't check those that often. And don't forget to watch out for the next video, which will actually be posted this evening shortly after this one. I go into more detail about contacting the channel, as well as Patreon and some other things. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. And as always, thanks for watching.